What are 3 things you would do as president, Senator, to slow down and reduce the regulatory overreach by our federal government?
I know you hear other people come up here. I heard Senator Cruz say this, and I said this 4 years ago. I'll say it again. The great thing a president can do, and the wonderful thing about President Obama, is he's been able to get almost nothing through the Congress. And so he's had to do everything through using 2 mechanisms, well, 3. Executive orders, regulations, rewriting regulations, and administrative interpretation. All 3 of those things can be changed by the next president on day 1, and you have my pledge. I will repeal and replace every single Obama regulation that impacts American business. That's the easy part. It really is the easy part. I mean, I've already had friends who are working on executive orders, and not just Obama executive orders, but executive orders that go back, some of them many, many administrations, and clean that up and get back to a constitutional form of government again where the president isn't exceeding his authority every drop of the hat. But we need to put some things in place to stop the next president from doing things. Because I can go in, and I will. I'll change the people. I'll put new people in place. I'll put new regulators in place. I'll repeal the regulations. And then at some point, someone else will come in, some later president will come in, and he'll wipe those all out and put a bunch of liberal policies back at some point. How do we stop that? Here's how we stop it. Rod has an ability, as a congressman, to vote down regulations. They have an ability. The ethanol regulation is a good example. The president just violated the law. The president violated the law as much as he violated it at immigration, as much as he violated it when it comes to Obamacare. There was no legal authority for the president on ethanol to lower the RFS. None. But he did it anyway because he's an authoritarian. He's the guy that says, I'm going to do it, try to stop me. And the reason he can say that is because when he passes that regulation, it goes to the Congress because it has a huge economic impact. So Rod is able to disapprove that regulation. That's a great thing. But then it goes to the Senate. So I suspect potentially, and it has happened in the past, that the House can disapprove an Obama regulation. But then it has to go to the Senate. And then you need 60 votes, and you need Democrats to help disapprove. And so far, no Obama regulation has ever been disapproved in the Senate. So what happens? It goes into effect. How do you change that? As president, a Republican president, I will go to Republicans and Democrats and say, look, let's change it to, instead of having the Congress disapprove my regulations, they have to approve my regulations. That makes no difference in the House. It's still a majority vote. But in the Senate, instead of having to get 60 votes to stop me, I need 60 votes to do it. So now I have to get a supermajority, Republicans and Democrats. That change alone will put a huge constraint on future presidents. And I promise you, that'll be one of my highest priorities as President of the United States. Thank you.
If you were elected president, what are you going to do to rein in the EPA?
I think I just sort of laid out how future EPAs can be reined in. I mean, you have to give the biggest problem in Washington is that we don't have checks and balances going on anymore. We don't have the president stopping the court from abusing its authority. We don't have the Congress checking the president. We have the court checking everybody, but the Congress and the president aren't using their authority to hold each other into accountability. And so, of course, I'd repeal everyone. I'd repeal the Waters of the USA. I would repeal the Clean Coal Initiative. I would all the initiatives, the ozone regulations, which are going to kill manufacturing jobs in this country. All of those could be repealed. All of the administrative interpretations, for example, an interpretation that says that CO2 is a pollutant. Stop breathing, you're polluting. It's not that we can't repeal those. It's not that we can't change them. The question is, how do we hold them? How do we make sure that that doesn't happen again? And part of it is the law that I just suggested. Another part of it is that we have to have a Congress that's willing to exercise this authority, a Congress that's willing to stand up to an executive branch and a court system that has become abusive. The courts in this country, anybody know what our founders thought was the most important branch of government? I'll tell you, the Congress. How do I know? Because they put it in Article 1. You know what the second most powerful branch was supposed to be? The president. How do I know? Because it's Article 2. What's the third most important branch? Article 3. Article 1's this big, long branch with lots of powers, the Congress. Article 2 is a smaller one, mostly national security. Article 3 is a little bitty article. The court's not supposed to be able to run the show in America. And they're driving environmental policy, they're driving increasing and expanding the size and scale of government, and no one is checking them. That is a problem. I can tell you as president, and I can tell you as a member of Congress, I pushed back and I fought the court when it overstepped its bounds. I'm the only person in this race to have taken a United States Supreme Court case. The case was on partial birth abortion. That case, the United States Supreme Court invalidated a Nebraska statute that banned that procedure. It's the procedure, by the way, that Planned Parenthood used to protect the organs so they could harvest them. They were breaking the law more than once. But the Supreme Court said that Nebraska's ban was unconstitutional. Well, I had been fighting this battle for 7 years during the Clinton administration and losing because the president would veto it and we'd come just short of overriding his veto. But when George Bush came into office, the court ruled. I said, let's take on the court. Let's pass a bill that is 180 degrees from what the court said. Let's challenge the court. Let the Congress and the president tell the court, you are wrong, you must change. So we passed a bill with bipartisan support, got it signed by President Bush, and of course, immediately Planned Parenthood brought the case to the United States Supreme Court eventually. And guess what? The Supreme Court changed their decision and we won. That's what we need to do. Fight back. Ladies and gentlemen, you have an opportunity to fight back in this election. Iowa, 4 years ago, you made the right call. You did what your job was, which is to look at the candidates and pick the best one, not who the national media wants. Do it again. God bless you. Thank you. Good to see you. Off here.
Former Senator Rick Santorum.